Welcome, everyone. Good morning to you who are gathered here in the sanctuary on Rugby Road, and all of you who are joining us online via Zoom. As we come together for our worship service this morning, let's all enjoy this musical prelude offered by our Director of Music, Scott Devaux. Thank you, Scott. Greetings, everyone, on this lovely day. Welcome to our community worship here at the UU Congregation of Charlottesville. My name is Debbie Norton, and I'm serving today as your worship weaver. Some of us are in the sanctuaries of our homes, joining in on Zoom this morning. Welcome. Some of us are here in the sanctuary on Rugby Road. This place was built for this congregation over 70 years ago on a hilltop setting on land that is the homeland of the Monacan people and land that was once cared for by enslaved people from Africa. We honor all those who dwelt here before and all those in our congregation over the decades whose lives led to this moment of our gathering as a community of memory and hope. We are blessed by their memory. I invite you now to take a moment to greet others who are with us in worship this morning. Those of you on Zoom can unmute and say hello to one another. And those of you in the building, please rise and turn to greet those close to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi. It's going to be a nice day today, isn't it? Only in the 70s.
Yes, very nice. Wonderful.
Is anyone else hoping to get back into church soon?
Hopefully.
Me too.
I really want to, but I can't breathe in the N95s. I have sort of reactive bronchi and they just slam shut with a N95. I can do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but that's about it.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Frustrating.
Very grateful for Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very.
I went last week and it was really, really hot. So they turned the ceiling fans down because somebody was cold and I was really hot. So I thought, well, I'll Zoom.
Can't please everybody.
That's true.
Our house we can, can't we? We can do Whatever we need to do.
Especially happy to welcome those of you who are new to our congregation. We invite you to join us for fellowship after the service in the social hall. And if you join us, we hope that you will use one of our brand new red coffee mugs, which are for newcomers to our congregation. Word has it that Reverend Tim will be using one as well, since this is his second week at UUCville. A reminder for everyone in the sanctuary, please keep your high-quality mask in place, covering both your nose and your mouth at all times while you are in the sanctuary and other parts of the church building. If you need a sip of water or a breath of fresh air, please step outside the building and then come back and join us. This act of kindness to your fellow congregants will help keep everyone as safe as possible as we continue to navigate life during the ongoing pandemic. We also have seating in the social hall where you can participate in worship by watching a live stream video on a large screen. The social hall is particularly welcoming to families with young children with a play space, including blocks and toys. And supervised play is also available on the playground during worship for children of all ages. Please do what you need to do this morning to feel comfortable as we all do our best to care for one another and keep each other as healthy and safe as possible. Many thanks to all the folks helping us share worship both here and online, our on-site greeters, ushers, and hospitality and logistics team, and special thanks to our AV tech team, Sean Scally, Celia Devaux, and Rachel Buckland, supporting the dual platform worship, both online and in the Rugby Road Sanctuary. And I am happy to be joined in sharing this worship with Reverend Tim and Scott Devaux. Here to greet you from the Board of Trustees is Hayley Owens.
Oh, good morning. Hi. Okay, let's see. iPad is at the ready. I've got some thoughts for you this morning. No, I leave this sermon to this guy. Well, it is so beautiful out there. Can we just take a moment to appreciate this glorious, cool weekend? Gosh. Oh. Well, my name is Hayley Owens, and I'm your board secretary, and I'm also somebody who grew up in this congregation. And I can still remember in early middle school when my mom and I were invited to try out this congregation, our first experience with the UU faith. We joined a mothers and daughters group that was going on at the time, which was a big step. And I just feel so lucky that through the RE program that I got to explore so many different religions with my youth group, investigate my own beliefs, of course, learn about relationships and human sexuality in a comprehensive and inclusive way, and find a loving and supportive community of friends and mentors. It wasn't until after college that I got involved in the UU community again. I came back to Charlottesville, and a few months into the pandemic, I was invited by a mentor and from my youth to get involved in the services. I found that having a voice in the collective creation of online services to be so fulfilling with this lady right here. It filled a need that I didn't even know I had. I was so excited to help out in this community in other ways since, always learning something about myself. So I wanted to share these because my experience with this faith community really has affirmed for me the power of invitation. So much of the connection I feel to this community comes from the invitations that have been extended to me. And to me, an invitation feels like an offered gift. It says, "You are not alone. You are welcome here. And I want you to be here with me." So with that, I invite you into this space of worship together.
Thank you so much, Hayley. That was wonderful. I have several announcements to share this morning. The second UU yard sale is happening next Saturday, August 20th, and plenty of volunteers are needed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to make this important fundraiser go smoothly. Even if you can only spare a couple of hours or you want to drop off some food or snacks in advance, your generosity will go a long way in supporting our church. If you would like to volunteer, please go to yardsale@uucharlottesville.org, which can be found in the Friday email and on the website. And you can go in today and buy things today if you like. On Sunday, August 28th, there will be an all-church swim party. More information and a link to the RSVP can be found on the Friday email and on the church website. The August Social Action Collection for the RISE Foundation will continue through this month. Visit the church website to learn more about RISE and to donate. Let us now center ourselves for worship.
Sean, how's that? Sean got me these wonderful lav mics that just came in, and so I told him sometimes I like to wander around a bit. So he very graciously got these mics. So we're taking him out for a spin today. And good morning, Debbie. It's so good to be working with you. Hayley, that was a wonderful mini sermon. And you can preach anytime you want. I loved it. So absolutely, yeah. So I want to begin this morning with some words from a wonderful Unitarian Universalist minister and one of the leading voices in, I guess what you might call Unitarian Universalist, the Unitarian Universalist humanist movement, Reverend William Murry. And no, not the guy from Saturday Night Live from years ago. He says, "We whose journeys are always beginning gather this day as a community of possibilities, a community that seeks truth and meaning, a community that values questions and answers, a community that always offers the freedom to explore, to learn, and to grow, and that always offers love and compassion to all who journey through our doors, and that works together for justice and peace for the whole human family. Come, let us worship together." So I'd like to invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn. We're going to play a video up on the screen there, and it's number 361 in the gray hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, "Enter, Rejoice, and Come In." So please rise, and the words will also be on the screen.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will
I now invite the Epp family to come forward and light our chalice. And let's say these words together. Sean, can you put up the words of the chalice lighting? We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds. This is a church of loving hands. This is a church of loving hearts. Thank you. Our first reading is taken from the work of Albert Einstein. The most beautiful emotion we can experience is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of all true art and science. Those to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer wonder and stand wrapped in awe, are as good as dead, a snuffed out candle. To sense that behind anything that can be experienced, there is something that our minds cannot grasp, whose beauty and sublimity reaches us only indirectly. This is religiousness. And it is in this sense, and in this sense only, that I am a devoutly religious man.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to sing again. I love to sing. And we're going to sing a song I think that Einstein would have probably enjoyed. This is called For the Earth Forever Turning, and it's number 163 in the gray hymnal. If you would like to look at the lyrics and look at the song sheet, but we'll also have a video going, and the words will be on the screen. So if you're willing, I would love for you to rise in body or spirit, and let's join in singing this really, really beautiful hymn. You may be seated. that hymn. It's just so pretty and beautiful and reminds me of just how much, and this is something I'm going to be talking about a lot today, just how much the beauty of the earth, the cosmos, how much it helps me to feel at peace and feel at home. So I'd now like to invite us into a time of centering, of prayer, of meditation. And I invite you to relax and sit comfortably. If you can, let go of whatever stress or anxiety you may be carrying with you today. And I want to share some prayerful words from a colleague of mine, the Reverend Monica Cummings. Dear unknown, unknowable, yet known by many names, keep us mindful that we are all related, that when one of us is ignored and treated with dis-ease, we all suffer. Today, let each of us commit to welcome the stranger. Let us move beyond our comfort zones and connect with people labeled different and pushed to the edges of society. We can make a difference. We can transform lives. We can bring harmony and healing to the places and spaces where we live, work, and play. Let us keep our hearts and minds open and receptive to the still, small voice that calls us to stand witness for those who cannot stand, to speak the truth for justice for those without a voice, and to lead the way on the journey toward wholeness. In the spirit of love, compassion, and community, let it be done. As we reflect on these words and all that we bring into this space this morning, I now invite us into a moment of shared silence. Amen.
This community offers its love and support to what is closest to our hearts. Another way we show our care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Each week, we invite everyone to the spiritual practice of generosity by giving to the ministry of our congregation. Through your pledges and with the weekly Sunday morning offering, together we build the future of our congregation and our larger community. This is our shared ministry. From you we receive, and to you we give. During the music which follows, you may choose to make your Sunday morning offering by using the text address or going to our website. Here in the sanctuary, you may bring cash or checks forward. During this musical prayer of thanksgiving, you are invited to share not only financial gifts, but you are also invited to share the joys and sorrows in your hearts. Those on Zoom may put them in the chat box, and those of you at Rugby Road may come forward to place a stone in the water. The stone symbolizes what is in your heart, and the water represents the soothing embrace our caring community offers for your joys and sorrows. You may also leave us a note on the joy and sorrow paper provided here. I will light a candle now for all the joys and sorrows in our hearts this morning. Let us hold one another in a compassionate embrace, and let us dedicate all of the many gifts we share with one another by saying, "We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good." You may come forward now with your gifts and your prayers.
Thank you, Scott. For that beautiful, thank you for that beautiful music. Is this called the pregnant pause? There we go. That sounds good. Okay. So, I want to share with you now one of my favorite poems that always reminds me of and evokes in me what I love about Unitarian Universalism. This is a poem, not necessarily one of her better known poems, from the late, great Mary Oliver. How many Mary Oliver fans do we have here? Quite a few. Yeah. Mary Oliver was not a Unitarian Universalist, but I always thought she should be our poet laureate if we had one. This is a poem called What Is There Beyond Knowing? What is there beyond knowing that keeps calling to me? I can't turn in any direction, but it's there. I don't mean the leaves' grip and shine, or even the thrush's silk song, but the far-off fires, for example, of the stars, heaven's slowly turning theater of light, or the wind, playful with its breath, or time that's always rushing forward or standing still in the same, what shall I say, moment? What I know, I could put into a pack, as if it were bread and cheese, and carry it on one shoulder. Important and honorable, but oh so small. While everything else continues, unexplained and unexplainable. How wonderful it is to follow a thought quietly to its logical end. I have done this a few times, but mostly, I stand in the dark field, in the middle of the world, breathing in and out. Life so far doesn't have any other name but breath and light, wind and rain. If there's a temple, I haven't found it yet. So I simply go on drifting in the heaven of the grass and the weeds. Mary Oliver, what is there beyond knowing? Well, good morning again. I'm going to say this every Sunday morning, I think. It's so very good to be with all of you. I also want to thank those of you who are joining us on Zoom, and I encourage anyone, and this is many of you that I have not yet had a chance to meet, to come up, introduce yourself, and if you're on Zoom, send me an email. You won't be bothering me. Yes, I'm busy, but never too busy to say hello, and I would love to meet you sometime and get together and hear your story. I want to get to know everyone in this beloved community. I want to make sure that those of you who worship with us from the sanctuaries of your homes know that you're here, you're with us, and that I want to connect with you and with everybody in this space and with everyone who would like to be here but can't be with us this morning. I also want to just mention that on Friday afternoon, I participated in the Unite the Light Vigil and Walk. I met some wonderful people and was so touched by the commitment of those who took part, and especially of those who experienced the horrific events of 5 years ago. During some of the walk, I had a chance to talk to my buddy Fritz, and also to Patty Wallens. Patty, where are you? There you are. I warned Patty I was going to mention her this morning, so she's not being surprised. Patty was one of the many congregation members who showed up in solidarity against the mob 5 years ago. And as we walked, Patty shared with me just how frightening and horrifying and violent that day was. I can't begin to imagine what it was like and just how much fear and trauma many have experienced, including, as Patty told me, many in this congregation. I wonder, Patty suggested that I ask anyone, who all was there 5 years ago? Wow. Well, I just want to say to you and to everyone in the Charlottesville community that how much I respect your courage and your willingness to confront hate, violence in the face of so much danger. I also want to say that one of the themes that we kept hearing about during the walk was that while we still have so much work to do here in Charlottesville to combat racism and white supremacy, those statues that the mob came to protect, they have come down. Meaning that those who showed up on the side of love and justice prevailed. Your courage, your commitment, your willingness to make a difference, it mattered in 2017, it matters today, and it will continue to matter in the years to come. Okay, let me shift gears now and share a few thoughts with you about today's theme, which is about, well, I don't know. As I mentioned last Sunday, and I'll restate it for those of you who couldn't tune in or weren't here, some years ago, the Temerson family lived in the Boston area. Now, I told a story last Sunday about Boston. Not every Sunday we'll have a story about life in the Boston area, I promise. But now, for much of that time, for about 10 years, I guess, we lived in a beautiful coastal community south of Boston, not too far from the historic city of Plymouth, roughly halfway between Boston and Cape Cod. Now, I loved living in this coastal community, and I enjoyed spending time at the area's popular beaches, but they were, in the summertime, they were really crowded, and the radios were blaring, and the music was going, and maybe I should say the smartphones were blaring. I'm aging myself here. And I have to say that, with the kind of the noise and hustle and bustle that one would find at beaches on the weekend, I often would find myself wishing for a kind of a quiet, secluded spot on the water that was much less crowded and noisy than the typical beach in the summertime. And eventually I found such a spot, and I want to tell you about it this morning. Now and I've got a few pictures to show you as well. Now, this particular place was located at the end of a very quiet peninsula in the town of Duxbury, and it overlooked a quiet bay. I heard somebody give a shout of recognition to Duxbury, so, oh, nice, okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now, the town of Duxbury goes way, way, way back because it was founded by some folks who were original pilgrims who came over on the Mayflower. And the spot on the coast where I discovered and liked to spend time was originally owned by none other than Miles Standish, who I believe was the military commander of the Plymouth colony. Now, here's the first, it's coming. This is the marker, the monument that's there. I think it's coming. And now, although the house that was on this, there it is, there's the little marker that's there. The house that was there is long gone. And the piece of property where it stood, this little piece of property, has been protected from development, and you can visit the site. It's kind of nestled in the middle of a neighborhood. This is one reason why it's sort of stayed protected. There isn't a whole lot to see on the land itself. As I said, there's no house. There's a historical marker. I think there's another one or two there. And you can see like a little piece of the original stone foundation. But Captain Standish had a place that was right on the bay, and you can, the coastline that the house overlooks is accessible, and you can walk down to the water and enjoy the beauty of Duxbury Bay. Now, one of my favorite things about this homestead is that in spite of its historical significance, It doesn't seem to have made it onto the kind of pilgrim freedom travel trail or whatever. Nobody seems to know about this place. It's really hidden away. And it's, I remember going out there on many mornings, especially maybe in mornings when it wasn't bright, sunny, or a weekend, and I would be the only person there. And during those moments of quiet, overlooking that beautiful bay, I would invariably experience a feeling of quiet and calm, and yes, awe and wonder. I love standing above the beach near the spot of the original house and looking out over the bay. And here's a picture of that. Imagine standing there looking at that and you're all by yourself and it's quiet and it's so beautiful. I would simply watch and listen as the water gently lapped against the shore and as gulls would fly by. It was just so quiet and peaceful and calm. Then after spending time at that spot overlooking the bay, I would always make my way down to the water, and what a sight it was and still is, because here you would have the tidal flows in this bay are really quite extraordinary. The beach grass is so green and it gently sways in the sea breeze. And if the tide is out, you can walk far out into the bay and peer into little pools of water, teeming with crabs and minnows and all kinds of life. In the next image, and I didn't give her a heads up, I was going to show this, you can see Carissa out there with the teeming crabs and minnows, inspecting them. And I think maybe the tide was a bit out there. You can see there's the little mud area, and it's just, you can just sit there for hours just watching all the life. It's just really, really extraordinary. And you know, I wish I could do justice to what I would experience in those moments. Again, it was just beautiful and calm, alive, but quiet, and so very nourishing to my state of mind and being. Every time I went there, every time, whatever worries and cares that I brought with me, whatever was on my latest to-do list, whatever problem or burden I might be struggling with, all that would just fade into the distance, fade into the background. And you know, if there's one word that really captures how I felt in those moments, the word I have is connected. The longer I gazed over the coastline or walked out into the bay at low tide, the more I felt connected to all that I was seeing, hearing, and experiencing. The boundaries between me and the world, nature, my surroundings, they just disappeared. They just disappeared. There was, in those moments, and this is where language, you keep grappling for the right words, and I'm not sure they even completely exist. There was a oneness, a kind of unity that I can't really explain or understand, or, as you can tell, even accurately describe. But it was a oneness that filled my heart with joy and peace, and with a deep sense of belonging and being at home. And you know, as I sat or stood there experiencing all that beauty and connectedness, oftentimes my brain would start to ask questions that reflected the beauty and peace of what I was experiencing. For example, I would oftentimes find myself wondering how and why this amazing place had been created. Could so much beauty and peace be a result of natural processes and evolution? Or was there also some creative, artistic purpose or energy or spirit behind it? I also found myself wondering why places like that, the Standish homestead, stir me in this way? Why did they always make me feel so connected, so at home, so part of all that I was seeing and experiencing? Was that deep connection kind of all in my head, merely a feeling or a product of my imagination? Or did it point to the existence of a deeper reality to which I belong? A reality that, as Mary Oliver says so well, is beyond knowing, but that somehow keeps calling to me. Now, clearly in those wondrous moments, I was wrestling with ultimate questions. Questions about the existence of God or the gods, the nature of reality, and my overpowering feeling of being at home and one with all that I was experiencing. Those kinds of questions were so wonderful and are, in my view, at the heart of what it means to be human. But I also have to say that as many times as those questions came up, I never really seemed to be able to settle on or figure out or come up with definitive answers. So I just kept experiencing and asking questions, wrestling with those big questions, and always left that beautiful spot on the bay wondering if I would ever find an answer. Now, if you had asked me to characterize those questions, as well as my lack of definitive answers, I would have probably said they were, philosophical, natural, nature-related, and so on. But I would have never used words like religious. Because you see, at that point in my life, I had always understood that being religious meant having answers, not questions. Faith, not uncertainty or doubt. Being religious meant, in my definition at the time, believing in an all-powerful God who stands in judgment above us. By the way, this God is invariably white. He's a guy. He's got a long white beard, right? You know who I'm talking about. Who stands in judgment above us and demands unquestioning faith in his existence. If religion was about having answers and beliefs, it certainly wasn't about asking questions like the ones I had while overlooking that beautiful bay. Having questions rather than answers, as I understood it in a kind of as I understood what religion thought of that, meant that one is lost, that one is a religious failure in the eyes of God and the faithful, and that if you don't get your religious house in order, you will be judged and condemned to spend eternity in you know where. What a contrast this conception of religion and of God was to what I experienced in those beautiful places. Walking along the beach and looking over the bay, I experienced connection and beauty, not judgment and fear. And that connection and beauty led me to wonderful questions that invited me to go deeper rather than being forced into accepting a single truth or a single answer that sort of cast all my questions aside and made them irrelevant. And it is that insistence on belief without questioning and truth without mystery that, quite frankly, led me in my own journey to stay away from organized religion for a really, really long time. But then, one Sunday morning, my relationship with religion and my understanding of what it means to be religious was completely turned upside down and forever changed. Now, not long after moving to our home near that beautiful spot, my family and I, and this would have been Carol, Carissa, myself, and our son, Chris, began attending a Unitarian Universalist congregation in that town of Duxbury, First Parish Church in Duxbury. I don't know if any of you know that congregation or not. I see a few hands up. This is wonderful. It's like old home week around here. So we began attending that congregation. We didn't know much about UU. You know, websites weren't what they are today, even the UUAs. So, you know, we knew words like liberal, open-minded. Okay, that sounds good. They cared about doing good in the world. That's great. That's important to us. I didn't really know what it was about. I was, and, word like church or parish, ooh, that was a little scary. Well, I think it was our third or fourth Sunday at the church, maybe it was seventh or eighth, I don't know, when the minister of that congregation, Reverend Robbie Walsh, was preaching a sermon about the basics of Unitarian Universalism, kind of a UU 101. Robbie was a great and gifted preacher and just a wonderful, I got more to say about him in a minute. At one point in that sermon, I'm sitting in the pews with Carol. Chris was probably in RE, and Carissa was an infant. Don't worry, I don't have any baby pictures for the slideshow. She was probably in the nursery. But at one point in this sermon, Robbie, as we all called him, said something about that I'll never forget, and that it was my aha moment about this tradition, Unitarian Universalism. And here's what he said. He said, in Unitarian Universalism, the words "I don't know" are considered to be very religious and deeply spiritual. The words "I don't know" are very religious and deeply spiritual. Say what? I think I had, I don't know, I don't think I did this. I'm sure Carol doesn't remember, but I think I wanted to like nudge her and say, is a minister allowed to say that in church? I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. Here was a minister, a religious leader, telling me that all of my questions, all of my uncertainty in the face of the mysteries of life were not only acceptable, they were spiritual and religious. Robbie went on to say that having questions and being uncertain makes one a spiritual seeker, not a religious failure consigned to eternal damnation. He also assured us that when you enter a Unitarian Universalist congregation, you don't need to wear a theological mask or pretend to be someone you're not. As Robbie said that morning and on many mornings, in Unitarian Universalism, you are always invited to come as you are, to bring your questions and your answers, your certainty and your uncertainty. Man, I have to tell you that after years of feeling as if I didn't belong in any kind of church or religious community because of who I was and all of my questions and my uncertainty and doubts, hearing him say that, I knew in that moment that I had found my spiritual and religious home. So I jumped in, we all jumped in full force. We joined the church, we joined the congregation, we became very, very involved. Robbie Walsh became my spiritual mentor, teacher, and inspiration. I probably wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for his example and his just being and his presence. During many other memorable sermons, I remember hearing him explain that while many other religious traditions seek to boil ultimate reality down to a single truth or creed, Unitarian Universalism affirms the reality of a world and a universe that are complex, interdependent, awe-inspiring, life-sustaining, and ultimately a mystery that we will never fully understand, but that keeps calling us to seek, to explore, and to come together in communities of love and acceptance where we can share our lives, listening and learning from one another and experiencing those moments of love and deep connection that bring us hope and joy. And I have to say that one of the things I have grown to love most about Unitarian Universalism is our willingness to affirm that we don't have all the answers, that we are still learning and growing, and that questions about ultimate reality and the nature of existence require that we explore them not from a place of judgment or 100% certitude, but rather from a place of humility. A humility that embraces the mystery that surrounds us and that is always open to new truths, new experiences, and new ways of understanding ourselves and the universe. And that takes me back to that small bit of coastline on the bay. In all of the time I spent in that beautiful place, and in all the beautiful places I've been blessed to spend time in, I still haven't arrived at a single truth or a final answer to all of my questions. I'm still asking those same questions, and I am certainly still seeking out beautiful and awe-inspiring places. I don't know if I will ever find a single truth that captures everything I experience in those moments and in those places. If I do, I promise you'll be the first to know. But for now, I am content to live in the mystery of a world and a universe that take my breath away and that fill my heart with awe and wonder. A world and a universe that I may never fully understand, but that keeps inspiring me, that keeps touching my heart, and that keeps stirring my soul. A world and a universe that I can always, always call home. Blessed be, and thank you so much for listening this morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for listening to my AHA UU story. One of my favorite things being a UU minister is listening to many of yours. Of course, I always want to be careful when I preach about my experiences. Of course, we have lifelong UUs. My daughter's one. Woohoo! Hayley is one. Yeah. Who else here has been a UU their whole life? Wonderful, wonderful. But it is the reality that many of us journey from other places, and both experiences are so wonderful. So what I want to do now, speaking of beautiful places and beautiful hymns, let's rise in body or spirit and join in singing Peter Mayer's wonderful hymn, Blue Boat Home. I'm sure you all know this one well. It's number 1064 in the teal hymnal, if you're interested there, but we'll have it on the screen, and the words will also be on the screen. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and let's join in singing Blue Boat Home.
Low below me, I feel standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Just imagine if the pictures from the new telescope had been available when that video was made. Those were pretty great, but I invite everyone to just remain standing for a moment, if you would. You know, if it wasn't for COVID, this is where I'd say, hey, let's take the hand of your neighbor. If you're related to your neighbor, feel free to take their hand. But I want to leave you this morning with, oh, and Debbie, would you extinguish the chalice, please? Thank you. I want to leave you this morning with these words from Mark Mosher DeWolf. He says, in our lives, may we know the holy meaning, the mystery that breaks in at every moment. May we live at peace with our world and at peace with ourselves. And may the love of truth guide us this day and every day. Friends, be well. Please take very good care of yourselves, of each other, and of this beautiful blue boat home. And may your days be filled with awe and wonder. I hope you find time to seek out and relish beautiful places. And may your days be filled with peace and joy. Blessed be. Go in peace. I invite and encourage you to be seated and listen to Scott's wonderful, wonderful post. And I look forward to greeting you out there after we're all done.